What is up, guys? It's Swammer here, and unfortunately, Go Battle League is still down, so I don't have any battles to show you guys. Haven't been able to do my battles for, I guess, 10 days or something now. But instead, what I wanted to do is take a look at some of the Pokemon in Generation 5 that haven't been released yet, but that I think could be really interesting picks in Go Battle League. And so Generation 5 first came out back in September, so that's a full 9 months ago now, which means that I wouldn't be surprised to see some or all of these Pokemon quite soon. So that I'm really excited about that, and let's go ahead and get into the Pokemon. So the first one I want to talk about is Zorark. So this is a pure Dark type Pokemon, and it will fulfill probably a similar role to something like a Haunter. It will definitely be a glass cannon. If you look at that stat spread, got very high attack, but then its defense and stamina are quite a bit lower. Maxes out a little above 2500 CP. So my guess is that this is a Pokemon that in the Great League is likely just going to be a little bit too frail. So we'll probably see it more in the Ultra League. But if we look at its moveset, it's got Snarl and Shadow Claw for fast moves. Both of these are very good. They've got pretty similar coverage. Snarl would be getting stab and generating just a little bit more energy, whereas Shadow Claw is objectively the better move. So I'm expecting people to run Shadow Claw, but then on the charge move, you've got Foul Play, Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower. I'm pretty sure that the best set will be Foul Play and Flamethrower. Foul Play is going to have great coverage in the Ultra League against Giratina, against those Psychic types, Cresselia, Armored Mewtwo, and then Flamethrower is going to hit Registeel very hard for super effective damage. So he will definitely have a lot of sort of quite interesting play. And with that moveset, I think that he could really fulfill some nice niche roles on a lot of teams. So that's the first one. Second Pokemon is Crocodile. So Crocodile is a ground and dark type Pokemon. So another dark type here. The disadvantage with Crocodile is it has a lot of weaknesses. I think it has 6 weaknesses. So it's definitely going to be a risky Pokemon to use, and you'll need to make sure that you get it in the right matchups. But if we look at the stat spread, attack stat 229, and then defense it's pretty low at 158, stamina 216. So it will also be fairly frail compared to a lot of Pokemon in the Ultra League. And actually, sorry, I should say that's again where I'm expecting this Pokemon to be used is in the Ultra League. I think it will be too frail for the Great League. Uh, but it will be a little bit tankier than Zorark. So if we go ahead and look at the moves, you've got Snarl and Mudslap for the fast moves. I'm expecting almost everybody to take Snarl just because the energy gain is really strong. And then the charge moves, you've got Crunch, Earthquake, and Outrage. Crunch and Earthquake will likely be the preferred set, again, offering great coverage against those Giratinas and Psychic types, Cresselia, Armored Mewtwo, with Crunch, and then Earthquake to hit Registeel for super effective damage. And that's going to be a stab Earthquake from something with pretty high attack, so that could be almost one-shotting Registeel. So, again, going to be a really interesting Pokemon, I think. The large number of weaknesses probably will be a bit of a problem, but in the right matchups, he will definitely be able to put in some work. So getting into the next Pokemon that I'm looking forward to is Buysharp. So Buysharp has a really interesting typing of Dark and Steel. So that's 3 Dark types actually on my list so far. There's a bit of a theme here. And Dark and Steel, I think this is the only Dark Steel combo. So the Steel typing obviously has a ton of resistances. For a Dark type, it means that Steel typing removes the weakness to Fairy, which is really big. So there's potentially a lot of really interesting play with Pokemon like this. You will blow up to Fighting type moves, taking doubly super effective damage from Fighting types. So that's something you'll have to watch out for. But we look at the attack, the stat spread, we can see its stats are pretty similar to something like a Sizor. So I expect that it will actually fill a fairly similar role. Um, it will probably see the most use in the Ultra League, if I were to guess, although you might see it in the Great League from time to time. But again, I think in the Great League it's just going to be slightly too frail, and especially if you run into a counter user in the Great League, it's going to be super quick. It's just going to tear through you. So I think we'll see it in the Ultra League more. For the moves, we've got Snarl and Metal Claw as the fast moves. Definitely expecting Snarl to be the preferred move there for the energy gains. And then the charge moves, we've got 4 options actually, and actually all of these have some interesting plays. So got Iron Head, Dark Pulse, Focus Blast, and Accessor. Iron Head would hit Charmers for super effective damage. It has lots of nice neutral coverage, could really put a hurt on an Articuno or something. Dark Pulse is probably going to be mandatory. It's probably going to be the one move you want to make sure that you have, just so that you can hit Cresselia and Giratina for super effective damage. I think that's really going to be its bread and butter. And then you've also got Focus Blast, which is a huge nuke that could potentially be taken out of Registeel, and Accessor for shield baiting potential. So Dark Pulse, I definitely think you're going to want to run if you're trying this Pokemon out. But then between those other 3 charge moves, Iron Head, Focus Blast, Accessor, I could see arguments for all 3, and I think it will really come down to what your team comp is. So really interesting Pokemon. Will be still a little bit frail, but Sizor has carved out a niche, or sorry, Sizor has carved out a niche in the Ultra League for sure, and this is pretty similar on the stat front. So definitely could see some good play. The next one that I'm going to talk about is Emoga. And so Emoga is a dual electric and flying type. And this is a really strong typing because it resists Flash Cannon and Focus Blast from Registeel. And it's sort of weird to talk about a typing being super strong because it just resists 2 moves. But Registeel is so prominent in the Great League that you just have to talk about it. So if we look at the max CP, it maxes out at about 1600. Attack stat is its highest stat, but defense and stamina are not too bad. So it will be a fairly squishy option, but definitely not as squishy as something like Zapdos, which I think is really the only electric flying type that we see right now. So if we go ahead and look at that move set, you've got Thundershock and Quick Attack for the fast moves. Definitely going to want it to be running Thundershock here. It's going to be getting stabbed, generating energy much quicker, and Quick Attack is just a bad move. And then the charge moves, you've got Discharge, Thunderbolt, and Aerial Ace. So Aerial Ace will probably be mandatory as coverage. It's not a great move, but it is a good coverage move to cover those grass types that would be resisting the electric type attacks. And then between Discharge and Thunderbolt, it's probably going to be really up to the user's preference. I'd be leaning towards Discharge personally because it has better energy synergy with Thundershock. It's exactly 5 Thundershocks to a Discharge, whereas to get to Thunderbolt, it's, you're 1 energy shy after 6, so you need to do 7, and then it just doesn't work out quite as well. But Thunderbolt has better damage per energy, so depending on the matchups, it could end up being the better move. But this is really going to be a budget Zapdos. So Zapdos has good matchups against Registeel and Azumarill, and I expect Emoga will fill that same role, having good matchups against both Registeel and Azumarill. So it's going to be a really interesting option. Only taking super effective damage from ice and rock type attacks. So definitely interested to see how this guy works out. All right, getting into the last 2, and these last 2 are going to be really, really strong, I think. So the first one is Mandabuzz. Mandabuzz is a dark and flying type. So that's a nice combo because dark types normally take super effective damage from fighting and bug types, and the flying type removes that weakness. So especially with fighting types, this is really important because it means counter users won't be dealing super effective damage. Um, Registeel's Focus Blast won't be dealing super effective damage. It just gives you a lot better play against fighters, and especially given its flying type, having access to Air Slash as a fast move and Aerial Ace as a charge move, you can hit fighting types back for super effective damage, so it's probably going to do pretty well in those matchups. So if we look at that stat spread, you've got attack of 129, defense 205, stamina 242. That is an amazing stat spread for PvP. It does max out at about 2100 CP, so we are probably only going to be seeing this really in the Great League. But looking at those defensive stats, this is defensive stats sort of on par with Umbreon. This Pokemon is going to be similar bulk to Umbreon in the Great League, which is, as you guys know, Umbreon is absolutely a tank, can soak so much damage. So that's going to be really, really powerful. In terms of those moves that it has, for fast moves, you've got Snarl and Air Slash. I'm expecting Snarl to be the preferred choice here, just to generate energy more quickly. But Air Slash will definitely have some play, and it will really probably depend on your team comp, which is going to be better for you. And then the charge moves, it has Foul Play, Shadow Ball, and Aerial Ace. And I think it might also have Dark Pulse as well, but Dark Pulse and Foul Play are very similar. I usually find that Foul Play is the better choice between the two, but you can't really go wrong with either. And then Aerial Ace, I've actually seen different things from different sources. Some sources are saying it will have Aerial Ace, some are saying it will have Sky Attack. If it has Sky Attack, that will be amazing. Sky Attack is a great move, and it basically does 25 extra damage over Aerial Ace for the same energy cost. So we'll have to see what how that plays out. But regardless of which it gets, this is going to be a strong Pokemon. Foul Play and Shadow Ball, there will likely be a bit of a trade-off there on whether you want to, um, do more neutral damage to get to it faster, or whether Shadow Ball you want to be able to hit Azumarill for some strong neutral damage. So they've got fairly similar coverage on the whole, but there's just a couple different trade-offs there. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a really interesting Pokemon. And I'm really looking forward to trying it out. Alright, and so last Pokemon on my list, but certainly not least, is Jealousyn. So Jealousyn is a dual water ghost type Pokemon. And if we go ahead and jump right into those stats, we've got 159 attack, 178 defense, and 225 stamina. So this is a very good stat spread for PvP. Will be quite bulky, not as bulky as Mandabuzz, or probably not as bulky as an Azumarill or something like that, but the typing is really, really strong. So as a water ghost, specifically, it will resist both steel and fighting types, which means that Registeel is going to be absolutely walled by this Pokemon. So anything that can wall Registeel is going to be immediately have some play. And as a water type, it's pretty solid. It has access to Bubble and Hex for fast moves. So Bubble and Hex both have the same energy gain, with Bubble having a little bit higher damage, and Hex just having slightly different coverage. So I'm expecting Bubble to be the preferred move here, but I'm guessing that there will be arguments for both. And then on the charge moves, you've got access to Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, and Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam is a stat debuffing move, so there's always some sort of interesting play around that, and given Jealousyn's bulk, there's potentially a pretty good argument for carrying Bubble Beam, just because it is going to get into those long, drawn-out fights. However, I'm expecting Ice Beam and Shadow Ball to be the preferred moveset. Ice Beam just has really good coverage against, Altaria, grass types, etc., that would otherwise give Jealousyn a fair bit of trouble. And Shadow Ball is going to be a really hard-hitting nuke that deals neutral damage to a lot of things. Going to be dealing neutral damage to Registeel, for example, and a Stab Shadow Ball it does a lot of damage any way you look at it. So expecting Jealousyn to be really strong in the Great League. I'll be very interested to see whether it replaces Azumarill on a lot of Pokemon, or on a lot of people's teams. Fills a fairly similar role, but with a few key differences. Namely, it has a much safer Registeel matchup. It definitely wins that, whereas Azumarill would do better against those dark types, the Umbreons, potentially Mandabuzz, etc. Um, Jealousyn, as a part ghost type, is not going to appreciate coming up against an Umbreon or a Mandabuzz or another dark type. So, very interested to see how this turns out. But definitely going to be a strong Pokemon. And with that max CP coming in at 2338, we might even see Jealousyn in the Ultra League, especially if it comes in as a best buddy. Going to be getting close to 2400 with good typing, still probably beating Registeel fairly handily. It could definitely have some play in the Ultra League as well. So these are the 6 Pokemon that I think that I'm most looking forward to, potentially from a Go Battle League perspective. There's obviously more Pokemon that could be really interesting. So we'll have to see when the rest of Generation 5 does in fact come out. Really hoping it won't be too much longer. And also really hoping that it won't be too much longer before Go Battle League comes back up. Don't have any information on that. So really just waiting for Niantic to announce anything on their blog or on Twitter. But hopefully them taking the time means that they will be fixing up some of the other issues as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.